Good morning, guys. I hope you're having a good Friday. Happy Friday. I'm just outside enjoying the weather right now. It's beautiful here in Arizona. And I wanted to talk about a taboo subject today that a lot of people don't feel comfortable talking about, but a lot of us wonder about this topic. And I am dedicating this video to new moms, to moms who are about to give birth, and I just remember how scared I was, and so I wanted to touch on some things and see if you guys have any fun birth stories to share. I'm going to make sure that this is on. Cool. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Brooke Orchard. I am a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a speech therapist, I'm a top beach body coach. I am a lot of things. It's kind of hard to juggle it all sometimes, but I make do. Yay! Ashley, I love that you love birth stories. I was seriously so nervous to press start on this because I'm like, what are people gonna think? But I remember how I felt when I was pregnant, and nearing the end, I was getting really anxious. Like, I was watching YouTube videos of people giving birth. Like, it was ridiculous because I'm like, what can I expect from this? And I didn't really know what to expect, and everyone told me to not have expectations, and I'm really glad that I did not, because my birth story was very different. I know everyone's is different, but when people hear my birth story, they're like, oh my god, you are not normal. And so I wanted to share with you just what happened with me so that maybe I can help educate some people on what could happen from a different standpoint. So I talk to moms every single day in private message, and we talk about our birth stories, and I thought that'd be really cool to go live on here. So anyone who has birth stories to share, feel free to share them either below or private message me, because I love birth stories too. So, and just a disclaimer that it gets kind of graphic. I am a TMI person, so I don't really hold back. I just kind of say things like they are. I'm just really blunt and honest, because I know I like that stuff. I appreciated hearing that stuff when I was about to go in. So yeah, I was due on July 17th of 2016, and on June 30th, I went in for my 37.5-week appointment, and I went to the doctor, just to get checked. And the night before, I had been experiencing some pre-labor symptoms a little bit, and for me that included, and again, disclaimer here, if you get, kind of grossed out, just sign off, but good. I love it, Ashley. I'm a TMI person too, because a lot of people want to know this stuff, but they're just not comfortable sharing it, and I want to, take that blanket off and just have people feel comfortable with this stuff. So yeah, so I was experiencing some cramping, like period cramps, and then I was experiencing some like spotting. I think it was like brown or pink spotting or something, and then it was turning to red, and I'm like, okay, something's going on here. And the night before, I had felt him like very low, like it felt like he was gonna karate chop through my cervix, and it was just crazy, like the sensation. I'm like, he is coming soon. And that was the night before June 30th, on June 29th, and I went to my 37.5-week appointment in the morning at 9:30, and I told her about my labor, or my symptoms that I was experiencing that morning and the night before, and she was like, well, let's just check you to see, if you're dilated or what. And so she went to go check me, and that's not comfortable. And then all of a sudden I felt this pop and this gush of liquid, and I'm like, oh my god. She's like, oh my god, I just broke your water, I am so sorry. She's like, I've never done that before, ever. And so I'm like, great. But at 37.5 weeks, I was like, okay, it's not the end of the world. At least it wasn't earlier. Kayla, love birth stories and have been thinking about sharing mine in this way too. You so should. Yeah, I love talking to moms about this stuff. So yeah, I was like, okay, I'm having the baby either today or tomorrow. And so she just nonchalantly was like, all right, go home, get your stuff. Thankfully, we had our hospital bag packed, so be sure to get that prepared, because you never know what could happen. So I had that at home. I was planning on going to work after this appointment, so I had on my work clothes, I had on my makeup, I was ready to work for the rest of the day. So I had to drive home separately. Mike followed me home in his car, because he went to the appointment with me, and we got home. I was kind of like nonchalantly, just kind of like picking up the house, in preparation for us coming home with the baby, so I didn't have to worry about that stuff. because we weren't prepared. You know, we didn't clean the house. I didn't really have any time to nest. So I was kind of taking my sweet time, and it's funny looking back, I probably wouldn't have taken that much time, but you know, we were here for about an hour, and then we grabbed my stuff and headed to the hospital. We got checked in at about noon up in the room, and they got me, you know, seated on the bed, and they started IVs. They tried me a couple times in one arm, and they couldn't get it going. They couldn't get it in there, and I hate talking about this stuff because I almost passed out. That to me was horrible. I hate IVs. I hate blood. I got a cold rush of, I don't know, I just felt like I was gonna throw up and pass out. So they finally got it going in the other arm. That was all fine. And then they got me hooked up. You know, they put the monitor on the baby, on my stomach. And, you know, at that point, my contractions were starting a little bit. And actually before this, as I was walking up to the room, my water gushed again. So good thing I was wearing black yoga pants, because I was walking down the hall and all of a sudden, goosh, more came out, and there were people in front of me, and they looked at me, and I stopped, and I just had this look on my face, and they're like, we didn't see anything. It was really cute. But yeah, just gushing. It was crazy how much liquid is up there. I had no idea it would be that much. And I usually pictured the water breaking as just one swoop. No, it was continuous throughout the, you know, first couple hours. So yeah, I was on the bed, got hooked up, and the nurse was just like all nonchalant, you know, yeah, I'm gonna go take my lunch break, you know, it probably won't happen for a while, and this is kind of the mindset that I had too, and they didn't check me at all to see if I was further dilated or whatever. And this is when contractions were starting, so they kind of feel like menstrual cramps at first, but then they get stronger and stronger, and I feel like mine were progressing pretty fast. So all of a sudden, it's like they were happening every 5 minutes and lasting for about a minute and a half, and it was pretty uncomfortable. It got very uncomfortable very fast, and I just kind of figured that I wasn't really supposed to ask for an epidural or pain meds because of the way the nurse was acting. They hadn't checked me. They were just very nonchalant, and so I didn't really ask for anything, and I just kind of dealt with the pain. And it got to the point where when my contractions hit, I couldn't really talk. And any mom who's had an epidural or got to the point that you needed an epidural, comment below, because I'm really curious at what point I probably should have asked for that. Because I think right when I got there and my contractions started, I should have maybe asked, but no one brought that up to me. And so I had to like grab onto the side of the bed. It was painful when Mike would talk to me and he would ask me a question when I was going through my contractions. I was like, I can't talk. I can't talk to you right now, hold on. And I just had to like, you know, squeeze the bed rail as hard as I could until it ceased. And then I could talk again. And then another wave happened, you know, 5 minutes later for about a minute and a half of that. And at that point, I was kind of wondering, like, okay, this is painful, but I don't know if it's as painful as it should be for me to ask for pain meds. So the nurse leaves the room. It's just Mike and I. He's like, okay, I'm going to go grab some lunch, you know, just a little bit for you because you're not supposed to eat a lot of solids. You know, I had, like, I think one of those push sherbet things. I don't even know. I don't even remember what I had. I think I had, like, cranberry juice, just something very minimal because I guess some women vomit when they deliver. I don't know. And so I didn't have much at all. He was down there. I was by myself in the room. And there were certain times where, you know, you can hear the baby's heartbeat through the monitor. And I stopped hearing the heartbeat at one point, and I started freaking out because I was by myself. So I pressed the call light, and a nurse came in. I'm like, hey, I can't hear the baby's heartbeat. And she just checked it. She checked the monitor. She's like, oh, no, you know, he just moved. Everything's okay. But you know, you go from hearing your baby's heartbeat to nothing, and you kind of freak out because you know that you're going into labor. The baby could be in distress. So I just was better safe than sorry. So I pressed that call light, and then Mike comes back up with lunch. I have a little bit of that, and a nurse comes in. Again, Mike and I are by ourselves with no nurses or anything in this room, and a nurse comes in just to say hi because I knew her daughter, and so I was talking with her. Or barely talking because my contractions were hurting so bad. And I all of a sudden had this urge to go to the bathroom. like number 2 urge. And no one told me that if you get the urge to go number 2, it probably isn't that. And I told the nurse, I'm like, hey, I have to go to the bathroom. And so I got up with my little IV pole and walked over there. And I, was on the toilet and sorry, this is graphic, but I was trying to go and trying to go and trying to go. It was the same exact urge as when you have to go number 2. And I all of a sudden was feeling very painful. Like, it was so much pain, and I was trying to go, and I was bleeding a lot, bleeding so much, and it just felt like a lot of pressure. Like I was trying to shit a Chipotle burrito, basically. And I'm like, okay, after 5 minutes, this is obviously not what I think it is. I need to get out of this bathroom, because it was 1, hurting so bad, and 2, I was really worried about what was actually happening. So I got out, and I was just like keeled over, cold sweat, just in so much pain. I'm like, Mike, I am in so much pain right now. Like, please go get a nurse, because there was no nurse in the room at that point. And he went out to the nurse's station, and he's like, hey, my wife is in a lot of pain, like, come in here quick. And so this nurse nonchalantly comes in, and she's like, okay, well, let's just check you. I'm sure it's nothing. I'm sure it's just, typical pain, but I can't really trust a pregnant woman, so I'm going to go ahead and check you. And, sorry, my dog's getting hot. And so she checks me, and all of a sudden she's like, oh my God, you're crowning. You're having this baby right now. And she puts me on the bed really quick, and she calls in all these nurses. Like, a swarm of nurses came in, and they were in the middle of getting their gloves on, their gowns, whatever. And I was sitting there, like, pushing, like, actively pushing. And I'm sure my neighbors are listening to this story right now. Sorry, neighbors. And silly me, in the middle of this, I'm asking the nurses, is it too late to get an epidural? And of course they're like, yeah, this baby's coming right now. And you guys, I pushed for about 3 times, I pushed about 3 times, maybe 10 minutes, and he was out. It was insane. Lindsay, would you say I had an epidural but was in labor for 18 hours? Mine kept wearing off, so they kept giving me more. By the time I was ready to push, it was all wore off, and they couldn't make it to my room in time for more, so I basically went with nothing. I felt everything. Yeah, it was that ring of fire that they talk about. That is so true. If it weren't for the nurse telling me how to breathe, I would have been a little bit lost. She basically told me, and who knows if this is correct, so I'm sure there's some nurses that are like, that's not how you breathe, but whatever, it got me through it. So the nurse told me, she's like, take a deep breath in with your nose, hold it, and then bear down. And you get those waves of contractions. So when that wave of contraction happens, that's when you get the urge to push, and that's when you're supposed to maximize your bearing down. And so that's when I did my breathing like that, and it just helped to put that pressure to just get them out. You guys, the nurses could barely have time to get their stuff on, and the baby was out already. And the nurses were so encouraging. They were so lighthearted. They were so sweet. They were like little cheerleaders. Mike was on the side of me. He was calling me a rock star. He was like, you can do this. You're doing such an amazing job. And I just remember like gritting my face, gritting my teeth, and just like, get this baby out of me. I was like, I am not going to go through another wave of those painful contractions, another urge to push because it hurt so bad. I'm like, get this frickin' thing out of me now. And so I think that was motivation, to just push as hard as I could. And I swear to God, you guys, staying active before and during pregnancy, I swear helped so much, because my core stayed strong. And I think that was a huge help with getting him out and keeping strong leg muscles as well. So for people who don't work out during pregnancy, I'm like, ooh, that's gonna be tough, like during delivery and then after delivery as well. So that's a huge reason why I stayed active too. And not only that, but it's healthy for baby. Obviously if you're not high risk, so talk to your doctor. But yeah, so Mike didn't ever go down there. I didn't really want to see. I got to touch his head a little bit, which was so cool, but Mike clipped the umbilical cord, and I thought that he'd be too grossed out for that because he gets really weary. So that was really neat, and I just remember the pain. Like, it was very painful, especially once his shoulders were coming. That ring of fire, I think, is where that part comes in, because it's just such a wide area on the baby that it's just, you know, causing you to open up very wide. Sorry, TMI. But it was tough. I'm sure I could do it again, but and I'm proud that I went through with no pain meds or anything. And you know, he was born at 1:46, so from start of labor, you know, 9:30 a.m. to 1:46, I had like a 4-hour labor, which is unheard of for most people, and I just progressed so fast. And people say like, oh my God, if your first baby came that fast, holy crap, your second baby, if you're on the road, you better get to a hospital ASAP, because that baby's coming. But you guys, I was just in such shock when that baby came up out of me, and just like picturing what he was gonna look like that whole 9 months, and then seeing him, it was so emotional. And the physical pain and the shock that I just endured, my body was in major shock. And like having him come up to me, I was just like, oh my God, like, thank God it's done. But I was so happy. But I should actually post the picture that Mike took right after Easton was brought up to me. I was just staring up at the ceiling with this blank look on my face. And he was saying, Brooke, it didn't even seem like you were that excited. And I'm like, Mike, did you not just see what I went through in such a short period of time? Oh my God, it was intense. And so yeah, and so I tell moms, like, I warn them, you know, don't have this expectation in your mind of what it should or shouldn't be, because it's going to be different for everybody. I never in a million years thought that that would be my delivery story. You know, I did want pain meds. I did want to do the epidural. I'm glad that I didn't do it, that I didn't have a choice in the matter. But, you know, don't overthink like how you should feel, or don't be mad at yourself that things didn't go a certain way, or that you didn't feel a certain way, because it's all going to happen the way it's meant to, you know. And for me, it helped listening to birth stories, because I could have some sort of idea for what could happen, even though, you know, worst case scenario, and you never want to think that way, but it's good to know, you know, if that were to happen in that moment, I know that it's going to be okay, you know, to not be as anxious about it, and to know that they're doing the best they can. So that was it. Like, he latched on really well. Right off the bat, that was great. We breastfed for about like 2 hours, and then they said, all right, let's get you up, let's get you showered. And it was kind of a weird thing. Like, I just gave birth, and here I am walking to the shower as if nothing happened, taking a shower, coming back and just enjoying time with Easton, and watching Mike hold him was just so cool. And then we got wheeled to a different room and barely got any sleep. For me, the scariest thing was watching how much he was spitting up, you know, because I don't know if they just swallow a lot of stuff, but they're constantly spitting up. And so I barely slept that first night, because Easton was spitting up a lot. And the nurse was telling me that that was normal, but no one told me about that. And so that's one thing I like to tell people, you know, don't be surprised that the baby's spitting up a lot. They're okay. I mean, it's good to ask your nurse about it, but that was one thing that scared me that I remember. And you're gonna bleed a lot. And this is another thing that I wasn't really prepared for. After delivery, you deliver the baby, and then I can't remember how much time after delivery this happened, but then you have to pass your placenta, and that was kind of like a little delivery on its own. So it was like having to go through a second delivery too. And I got to see that. She asked me if I wanted to see that, and it was the coolest thing, just like this sack, and it kind of looked like a hamburger. It was really weird, like a hamburger looking thing. And it was just so cool seeing that that is what supplied my baby. Like, that's what gave my baby life for 9 months. Just seeing what your body can produce is just the most magnificent thing on earth. Our bodies are just amazing, what they can do. And so, yeah, we stayed at the hospital for 2 days and went home. You know, it was kind of a pain having to wear those those little diapers, you know, those Depends, because you're bleeding for 4 weeks. And that's another thing that people don't really tell you about. Like, you're emptying out, and in the hospital, like, the nurses have to push on you and get that stuff out, and it's not pleasant, it's painful, but I know it sounds horrible, but it is the most rewarding thing ever, and obviously the end result is worth it. And so any mom that is thinking about doing this pain med free, you can so do it. If I can do it, you can do it. I don't know if my pain tolerance is high. I'm sure it is a little bit, but I would love to hear your birth story and to know at what point next time I should maybe ask for the epidural if I choose to go that route. I don't know. I just felt like so lost in the beginning. I didn't really know when to ask for things. So yeah, if you guys have any insight, I would love to know. You're all about the placenta pills, huh, Ashley? I know that's one thing I didn't do, and I actually am interested to look into that next time because I've heard it can really help with postpartum hormones, you know, because so much is happening to your body after you give birth. I feel like so much is leaving you, and I feel like the placenta pills, you know, having that in capsule form and taking that afterwards would really help to replenish what was just lost. So I think that would really help with postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression. I think it's one of those things that people don't really want to look into because, yeah, it sounds gross, but if it's in capsule form, you're not gonna taste it, you know what I mean? And it was a part of you, so what's so wrong about that? I personally didn't do it because I didn't look into it. I didn't really think about it as much. But I'm really thinking about doing that for the second baby. So if anybody has information about that, that would be cool for you guys to give that education on this thread to any moms that are thinking about doing that. And you guys, I waited about 6 weeks after delivery to work out. Everybody's different. I could have easily started with yoga, but even going for walks, especially the first couple of weeks after delivery, I was still bleeding. It was a lot of pressure. And so I just tried to keep exercising to a minimum. I have some girls who work out like right after delivery, like 1 to 2 weeks after. And personally, I think that's a little bit too soon. Especially if you gave birth natural, and C-section is a little bit longer recovery time. Every person's different, so just check with your doctor, but I started about 6 weeks after. I could have started yoga about 4 weeks after maybe, just to get some stretching, just to get my blood flowing, because you go stir crazy, and it was a hot Arizona summer, so I was stuck inside a lot. It was a little bit brutal, but so that's what I recommend. Just don't go in it with any expectation, and just know that you are tough as shit and you can do it, and to read positive affirmations to yourself before you go in. Like, go on Google and type in positive affirmations. Read some personal development to flood your mind with positivity that you are a rock star, that you can do this, and that no matter what, it's going to be okay. And if things go awry during the delivery process, just have that faith that everything's going to be okay, So yeah, but you guys, I know I posted about this a couple weeks ago, but I just opened up a private Facebook group I have it called Strong Mamas, and it's just a private Facebook group for all of us moms to get together and have a place to ask questions, post anything and everything. It's just a great support system for all of us. So I've started that up. I have about 35 women in that right now. And so if you're a mom watching this, like a new mom, you're thinking about becoming a mom, you're actively trying, you're, just had a baby, you have 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids, 5 kids, 10 kids, I don't care. Feel free to message me, private message me to get added to that group. It's a free group. It's just a place for us moms to have support with each other. So feel free to message me about that. I also have monthly fitness accountability groups if you are a new mom or just someone who's pregnant, looking to become pregnant, and you want to be active and healthy before, during, and after pregnancy. Message me, because I love, love, love working with moms and tailoring my fitness groups towards moms, because that's me. So I can best relate with those women. I love working with pregos and mommies. So message me if you want to work on your health and fitness goals too. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. This was longer than I anticipated. I hope this wasn't TMI, but at the same token, I don't really care, because I love opening up about that stuff, and I love just connecting with people on a really personal, deep level. I just enjoy relationships so much, and just talking to people about things that society just considers taboo, and I hate that. So I want to break through the mold a little bit. But yeah, post below your birth story or anything that would benefit anybody watching this video. All right, bye guys. Have a great day. Happy Friday.